Welcome back into the Cowboys Report. Tom Downey here. Another early morning edition of an at-home video. We have some injury news to get into, led by Robert Jones and the broken bone in his neck. We'll break that down. Also mention a couple updates that came in from Nick Harris yesterday on Brevyn Spann-Ford, Terence Steele, Deuce Vaughn, Parris, Campbell, and Juanyeh Thomas. So stay tuned for that. As a reminder, if you guys have not done so before, please subscribe. It's like 8:30 Eastern time as we sit here filming this, which I don't even know if the rest of the Oxnard crew is up. I'm sure plenty of Central Time people are not up either. We're doing videos because news happens. We'll adjust the schedule if it can get dropped off a little bit later. Hit that sub button if you haven't already, youtube.com/CowboysTV. All right, so the Robert Jones injury, this one I think kind of more of a surprise than anything else. Adam Schefter tweeting this out moments ago this morning that Robert Jones, who had been working with the starting unit in the part of camp, I'll come back to that, broke a bone in his neck during Sunday's practice and is now going to miss 2 to 3 months. Sizable news on that front. That would put him out into, late September, early October. This makes Robert Jones a prime IR to return candidate, which you put him on IR. It actually does kind of help balance and figure out your offensive line depth concerns, whatever, but it's still notable for the Cowboys to lose the guy that I think was going to be their top backup guard for the entirety of the season. Now he's going to be down 2 to 3 months. He did work a little bit with the starting unit in the sense that he got some run on Saturday with the ones, and then it went right back to Tyler Booker being the main guy out there, and he was the lead right guard, which was always going to be the case. So I don't really think Schefter had to throw that part in there, but context, whatever, I'll provide it instead. This is still a pretty noteworthy loss for a guy that had been one of the more expensive Cowboys free agent pickups this past season. He had been somebody who had gotten a little bit more in terms of the money than anything else. So before we get to the next question, Olivia, do you want to come say hi? Stand up, say hi. Hi. Can you say go Cowboys?
Go Cowboys.
There you go. Do you want to sit on my lap for the rest of the video?
Yeah.
Okay. Hey, everyone, say hi to Olivia in the comments section of today's show. Back to the offensive line here. Sorry for the jump cut. Olivia kind of had to go upstairs for a little bit. The offensive line depth chart, starters don't change. This does create a roster spot with the injury to Robert Jones since he'll go to IR. Starters are going to be Tyler Guyton, Tyler Smith, Cooper Beebe, who I know has drawn some praise from guys like Nick Harris. That's a good sign. Tyler Booker, I know Jones got a day of work with the ones. It was clearly Booker the starter the entire time. I don't interpret anything other than this is still going to be Booker's job. I almost wonder if Terence Steele missing a day of practice was a factor in why they put Robert Jones in there on the right side and then went with a backup line. That's probably reading too much into it. But those are going to be your starting five. Good news on Steele we'll come back to later on in today's show. The depth chart behind them, the backups, a spot's open now. They can add an extra offensive lineman if they want to, with Jones going to be on IR to begin the season. Brock Hoffman is going to be your main swing backup on the interior of the offensive line. That does not change. Who's next up? Is it TJ Bass? Does Sadiq Charles have a path? Nathan Thomas has gotten some run at left tackle in camp, along with Austin Richards, who's gotten some sixth offensive line work too. Hakeem Adeniji has gotten some right tackle run. Does Matt Let's-Go do anything? So you always had more depth, more experience, more draft picks on the offensive line than you had roster spots available. That's why I'm not overly concerned about this injury and why it sucks. You don't ever want to have a player get hurt. But a backup guard going down when you had a lot of experience on the backup of the offensive line, you have, I think, some of the best offensive line depth in football. Different than the starters, but the depth is incredible. You'll be okay there. So what is your concern level over the Robert Jones injury? Scale it for me from 1 to 10. 1, of course, the low end, 10, the high end. Let me know in the comments of today's show. All right, I did promise 5 updates coming in from Nick Harris on other injuries. We'll go in positional order here to an extent, or let's go with the more notable ones first. Terence Steele. Let's get the good stuff going first. He was actually back at practice on Sunday, so I don't understand the science of it's a high ankle sprain. He missed 2 days, unless it was like barely a high ankle sprain, and he essentially rolled it. I don't know. In the end, I guess it doesn't really matter. Good news there on Terence Steele. I think he'll be kind of slowly worked in to an extent, not just drop back in full, go 100%. But the fact he was out there at all, the first day the pads came on, is a really good sign for the Cowboys and his status as the right tackle, who the Cowboys are banking on Terence Steele. They need Terence Steele to be a huge factor in this offensive line. This entire offense kind of doesn't work if the area they've invested the most draft capital into, the most investment into, frankly, doesn't work well. So they need Terence Steele to be the guy that the Cowboys think he's going to be under Clayton Adams and Connor Riley. So good update there on Terence Steele. Let's go to Brevyn Spann-Ford. Sounds like he also suffered an ankle injury. Nick Harris's note was, doesn't sound serious, will miss a few days. So probably not that dissimilar from whatever impacted Terence Steele. It is unfortunate for Spann-Ford. Obviously, the Cowboys paid Jake Ferguson, but Spann-Ford was in a battle for tight end 2, and I think is in a battle for tight end 2 with Luke Schoonmaker. Schoonmaker's done some good stuff. Yeah, put the ball on the ground a couple times too. So that's how do you balance those two things out? So we'll keep an eye on Spann-Ford, but that is that's a noteworthy one that he's going to miss a couple of days. We'll see. John Stevens Jr. got some run with Spann-Ford banged up, so good for him. Maybe he's still the favorite, so to speak, to be tight end 4 if they carry a tight end 4. We'll keep an eye on Spann-Ford because he's someone that I think a lot of us hope can take a next step forward and be a surprise piece on this offense. Team that might do more to tight end packages this year. Let's go to Deuce Vaughn. And this is how you go from hey, you had a good first 4 days before the pads came on, and then you tweaked your hamstring for Deuce Vaughn. That's not good. Deuce Vaughn had done some nice work with the pads off. I thought his play style suits very well for that. But okay, what happens when the pads come on? It's always a bit tough at running back because there was one play, and you guys know I love Deuce, where he busted a nice run. But when you go back and watch it, there's a safety in the backfield that just taps him. It probably would have been at most a limited gain, but it got hyped as touchdown run by Deuce Vaughn. But I'm yeah, but was it really? Safety was there in the box. I didn't think he would have made the play. I hope he would have made the play in the end. So it's tough, even in pads on. You're still not quite going full contact, full power. But I think him being down a couple days is a big deal. It gives more playing time for Jaden Blue. It gives more playing time for Phil Maffa. The Cowboys always defer to the most recent draft pick. So it is unfortunate for Deuce Vaughn, who already faces an uphill battle for the roster. He's going to have to get back quickly. But got 100%, or else there's no point in being back quickly if you're banged up. So, does Deuce Vaughn make the Dallas Cowboys roster? Y for yes, N for no. Let me know in the comment section of today's show. Next up, Parris Campbell, who that one I thought might be a little bit bad. Unknown lower body injury is what Nick Harris said, but not serious. Maybe just tweaked the knee, something along those lines. So, Campbell's going to stay out a few days, but again, we talk about Deuce Vaughn. He was already not. I think Vaughn had a better chance of making the roster than Parris Campbell. Maybe Parris Campbell can be a backup for you and can be a practice squatter in the emergency, Kevontae Turpin injury happens, he can take some of those snaps in. But I didn't see a path for Parris Campbell to make the 53, really, barring injuries to others once they made the trade for George Pickens. But hopefully he's okay and gets back soon because I want him out there for the preseason because I want to see what Joe Milton can do. Finally, Juanyeh Thomas. He did not practice on Sunday either. Don't know what it was. Lower body, so I would assume hamstring or groin. Those are two pretty common minor pulls. Again, that one's unfortunate. Glad it's not severe, but I want him out there. I want him competing. I want him showing if he can steal a starting spot from somebody like a Donovan Wilson. If he can be a key contributor, in some hybrid nickel packages, whatever. So we'll see when he's back. Hopefully back this week, kind of like Deuce Vaughn, but that's still kind of TBD up in the air. So to recap, one time here. Robert Jones, expected to miss 2 to 3 months with a broken bone in his neck. He will likely begin the season on injured reserve, come back later. Nick Harris, mentioning these 5 updates. Brevyn Spann-Ford, ankle injury. Doesn't sound serious, but MRI, we'll see. I think we'll be okay. Terence Steele was actually back in kind of limited capacity on Sunday's practice, so great news there. Deuce Vaughn, hamstring, going to miss a few days. Should be back at some point this week, but tough when you're in a roster battle there. Parris, Campbell, Juanyeh Thomas, unknown lower body. Campbell's one looked bad. Sounds like it's actually okay. He's going to miss a few days, and we'll see when Juanyeh Thomas is able to return to the Cowboys as well.